So we're talking to another candidate standing in Douglas South. This is Kevin Oliphant-Smith. And Kevin, you confused me slightly because I see you standing here, but you did a big announcement last year to say you were already going to stand in Douglas East for 2021. I mean, you were literally the first candidate that came forward, but you obviously changed your mind. Why?
I actually declared for Douglas East 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That was the plan, long term. You know, that I knew when the general election was coming up, I had plenty of time to plan for that. And then, of course, no one could know that this by-election was going to happen. And I thought about it. A few people asked me to stand. You know, I lived in the area 13 years. I've got family in the area. My first ever election for the local authority, Douglas Council, was in Hills Ward, which is, of course, Douglas South. So a lot of people voted for me in that one, and that was my first ever election when I was unknown.
Okay, so I mean, there's going to be, this is a by-election, and then we got the full general election in 2021. Will you again be going for Douglas South, or would you be looking elsewhere again there?
If I was elected in Douglas South, I would stand again for Douglas South, of course. Okay. Yeah.
Now, we also got to pick up that you were councillor, but not for very long. What happened there? Do you want to talk about this? I mean, did you enjoy it? Because you do like politics.
I love it. Yeah.
But something happened there. You left. I mean,
yeah, happened? It was very unfortunate. So unfortunately, at the time, I was going through quite a lot of stuff. I was going through divorce, health problems, things like that.
Oh, so it's just private and personal stuff. It wasn't because
it wasn't helped by things inside, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So one of the things that was keeping me going was the election. You know, that's what I was focused on.
Yeah.
So it kept me going apart from my personal problems.
Okay. Do you think you can take the pressure then for this sort of job? I mean, you know what you're dealing with here. This is national politics.
Yeah.
Are you putting yourself up for it? And you do like doing politics, obviously.
Yeah.
But are you prepared for this?
I think so. Originally in 2016, I was planning on standing for the Keys and not the council. It was actually I'm being careful what I say now.
Yes.
Another MHK who talked me out of it. And they said to me they felt I needed more experience in politics, and I should stand for the council instead. So stupidly, I took that advice. I wish I hadn't have.
Okay. Well, let's clear that up, because obviously, Malou, you stood there, didn't you, as well?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your policies? If you're going to the door, I'm asking people, you know, what's your main point? If you're knocking on someone's door, hello, I'm Kevin, and my reason for being elected is...
Yeah. Well, you know, I've watched governments come and go. I've pretty much been involved in politics in one way or another since 2006. I started off being involved in other people's elections, standing in the background, watching what went into a manifesto, what went into campaigning, and that's how I learned. And then eventually I stood myself in 2012. So watching the House of Keys and the members today, I really feel like there's absolutely no representation there at all for the people. There's no passion in there. There's nobody in there with any fight, any energy to stand up.
So you're not a supporter of the Quayle administration?
No.
Okay. What would you do differently then? I mean, again, policy-wise, what do you want to see happen or change?
I just feel like there's a lot of things that they keep getting put back by every government. We've got the waiting list at the hospital, dentist problems, tuition fees. We've got things like sorry, I've actually got a list here, so I didn't go off track.
Yeah.
You know, the casual contracts, for instance. So, from 2008, I think the government started making a lot of cuts. That affected an awful lot of government workers, and because of that, we can't retain good workers here now. So the government are talking about bringing people to the island. They're trying to promote the Isle of Man as a place to come and live and work. But what are those people going to get out of being here? You know, where's the support services?
And what are you offering then? What are you going to offer to do to change?
Well, I'm offering myself personally to go in there and scrutinise the government and be a voice for the people. I think I've got a proven track record of doing that because I've campaigned on many different issues. Before this election came up, I'm still in the process of looking into another issue, which is Chester Street car park. That's been in the press a little bit recently, and how it's a historical site at the moment for suicides, people committing suicide there.
So you're taking an interest in mental health?
Mental health in general is a big one for me. Yeah.
Day job now. What? I mean, will you be given that up? And what do you do as your job?
So the last 3 or 4 months I've been working at the hospital during COVID. So I had 2 jobs before March. I worked for 2 separate government departments, and March came, COVID came. They both closed down at the same time, and I was unemployed for about a month. And then I got asked if I wanted to go to the hospital because I've got a healthcare background anyway. So I retrained, and it was a complete eye-opener.
But you'd be seeing this as a full-time position? That's what I was trying to get to, really, I suppose. You would give up other work to do this as a full-time?
No, if I was elected, it would be 100%.
Now, you say you're not a big fan of the co-administration, but would you go into a department and take the uplift on the money?
Well, the money doesn't bother me. I'm not money-driven at all.
Well, would you go into a department anyway?
I would only go into a department if I felt like I had a voice in there. What
departments would you like to be in?
Well, I've got a thing for health, so of course that would be number one. But if I didn't feel like I had any value to give that department, then I wouldn't accept it. I think you've got to have an interest in whatever it is you go into, and if I wasn't passionate about it, I'd be wasting everyone else's time as well. So
do you follow politics in the sense you go to Tynwald, do you see an operation, do you understand how it all works?
Oh yeah.
And what do you think there's 2 positions there. You don't align yourself with any particular party or policies as such. You see yourself purely as an independent, do you?
Yeah, well, I've learned the hard way that I don't really agree with the party structure, especially on the Isle of Man, because when a candidate knocks on your door, you listen to that candidate, you want to vote for that candidate. But the problem is you're not voting for that candidate, you're voting for the party. Now that candidate, if they're from a party, they haven't written that manifesto. The party has written their manifesto for them. So how can somebody represent you when they represent the party first? So it's party first, you second, constituent second. And that's the way a party is always going to operate. As an independent person, what I put into my manifesto is from me 100%.
Right.
And I will follow that to the letter.
And we're talking to you before your manifesto is out. I mean, we're talking still very early on.
Yeah.
Radical. I mean, anything else you would give us as a highlight or anything particular?
Well, I'd like to see the planning committee overhauled completely. I look at Douglas for example, all around Douglas, where I grew up as a child, and it used to be full of loads of lovely family homes. They've now been chopped up into little box flats that have been crammed full of as many tenants as possible for landlords to get as much rent out of them as possible. And of course that's driven up house rental prices as well. And some of the conditions of the housing is just unacceptable. I've emailed Tim Baker recently about the proposed tenant housing landlord legislation 2020. Hasn't replied to me. It's not a bad proposal that he's put forward, but there are some gaps in there that could be adjusted. Do
you see yourself as a national member of Tynwald, or would you be very focused on local issues in Douglas South?
No. I think I've proven I've stood in many areas in Douglas. I also stood for Maloo commissioners, as you know.
Yeah.
So I'm always happy to help anyone. I since 2016, even though I stood down from the council, I've carried on helping people. I still have people in touch with me pretty much on a daily basis with different problems, and the fact that they're getting in touch with me, an unelected member, proves that the current MHKs aren't doing a good job. That's all I hear is, well, I contacted my MHK, they haven't got back to me. I put this to such and such a member, they looked into it and nothing happened. And it's not hard. You get on the phone to the department in question, speak to the head of that department, put across the constituents' problems, and 9 times out of 10 it's sorted.
Finally then, if you didn't get in this time, and would you stand again? And we always, we've already asked you which area, but if you don't make it, would you see yourself committing yourself to 2021?
Absolutely, yeah.
And what is it then that is going to drive you? I mean, what makes you so interested in politics? Because I'm fascinated about. You've done it for so long, really.
Well, I think a lot of people get into politics for the wrong reasons, and I've seen that. They get in there for their own reasons, their own interests, and they get elected. They promise everyone, the world, and then they sit there for 4 years and do absolutely nothing, sit on their hands. They're seat warmers as far as I'm concerned. And then that final year, which we're in now, they start thinking, we better do something because the election's coming up and I want to get voted back in, And
that won't be you. You'll be working.
Absolutely not. No, I'm not interested in the money. That's not why I'm going in. I've not got any self-interest at all. I'm purely doing it because it seems to be what I'm good at, unfortunately, and I'm driven towards doing that, and I enjoy doing it.